Good day everyone, I'm Ian Estrada, together with my co-reporter Jonalyn Laberisa, and today we'll be discussing the Module 2, which is the forms of contamination. So, for the introduction, one of the food service manager's most important role is to prevent any type of contamination of food from occurring. So, sinasabi na, ang manager daw, ang pinaka-focus niya is ma-prevent natin yung mga iba't ibang klase ng contamination na pwedeng makaapekto sa ating business, lalo na sa ating mga customers. So, contamination is the presence of harmful substances in food. Those substances can be biological, chemical, or physical. So, mamaya pag-aaralan natin yun. Most contaminants cause foodborne illness. Others can result in physical injury. So, mamaya i-discuss natin kung ano yung mga example ng mga pathogens at yung mga foodborne illness na pwede nating makuha. So, next. So, biological contaminants. These are pathogens that can contaminate food and cause foodborne illness. So, when it comes to biological contaminants, from the word itself, biological meaning yung mga living microorganisms na pwedeng makakontaminate sa ating pagkain. So, yun nga yung pathogens, which is yung harmful microorganism. Next naman is yung chemical contaminants. Food service chemicals that can contaminate food if they are used incorrectly. So, sa chemical contaminants naman, dito naman papasok yung mga harmful chemicals na ginagamit natin pag naglilinis tayo ng mga gamit natin. Katulad ng mga hand sanitizer, yung mga ganun. So, next is yung physical contaminants. Foreign objects such as metal shavings, staples, and bandage can get into food. So, sa physical contaminants naman, ito yung mga physical objects na pwedeng mahalo sa pagkain while nagpe-prepare tayo ng pagkain, which is yung mga bagay nga na katulad ng metal shavings, staples. So, pwede yun mapunta sa pagkain at maging magdulot ng hazard para sa ating consumers. So, how contamination happens? Food can be contaminated on purpose, but most food contamination happens accidentally. So, sinasabi na yung food contamination daw is pwedeng man-made o sinadya. Pero, karamihan daw sa food contamination ay hindi naman kagustuhan ng kahit sino. So, accident lang yung nangyayari. Most contaminants get into food and onto food contact surfaces because of the way that people handle them. So, kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng contamination, mostly dahil din sa mga tao, no? Sa mga surfaces na pinagtatrabuhan natin or pwede namang galing sa tao, mapapasa doon sa pagkain. Food handlers can also pass on contaminants when they are in contact with person who is ill. So, sinasabi na yung mga food handlers natin is pwede rin silang maging cause, lalo na kung nakasalamuha sila ng taong may sakit. Pwede nilang mapasa sa kanila yon at pwede nilang mapasa sa pagkain. Next is food handlers allowing ready-to-eat food to touch surfaces that have come in contact with raw meat, seafood, and poultry can lead to contamination. So, meron tayong mga ready-to-eat foods katulad ng mga salad. No, pag nilagay natin yan sa mga surfaces na pinagprepare natin ng mga raw meat, especially yung mga seafood, no, dahil maraming may allergy doon. So, pwede yun mag-cause ng contamination. So, storing food incorrectly can also lead to contamination. So, meron tayong tinatawag na food in FIFO, which is yung first in, first out. Sa pag-store ng pagkain, kung yung pinasok natin na unang pagkain, yung meat na pinasok natin ng Monday, tapos nagpasok pa tayo ng Tuesday, so ang una nating ilalabas is yung pinasok natin na una, which is yung Monday. So, dahil kung yung in-store natin na una na yon is napabayaan, pwede siyang masira. Pag nasira yun, mako-contaminate din niya lahat ng iba pang nandun. So the failure to spot signs of pests in the establishment because pets are major source of disease. So kung hindi natin namamalayan minsan na meron ng mga daga, no, na malaki ang chance na magdala ng disease pag napabayaan natin sila doon sa kitchen at hindi natin na-monitor ng ayos. So pwede rin silang magdulot ng contamination. Biological contamination. Microorganisms are small living microorganisms that can be seen only through a microscope. Many microorganisms are harmless but some can cause illness. So pagdating naman sa microorganism, meron tayong tinatawag na harmful bacteria, meron din namang hindi. Katulad nga nung lactobacillus na matatagpuan natin sa mga iniinom natin na katulad ng Yakult. So, yung mga microorganism daw yon sa sobrang liit nila, hindi natin basta-basta sila makikita. So, makikita lang daw natin pag gumamit tayo ng microscope. Understanding these biological contaminants is the very first step to prevent foodborne illness outbreaks. So, sa pamamagitan ng pag-alam natin, no, sa mga biological contaminants na yan, katulad nga ng bacteria, viruses, at iba pang pathogens, so malalaman natin yung mga possible way para ma-prevent natin yung mga foodborne illness outbreaks. So meron tayong 4 na pathogens, yun nga yung nabanggit ko kanina, which is yung bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi. Symptoms of foodborne illness. Unang-una na dyan is yung diarrhea o yung pagdudumi natin ng marami, no? Sunod naman is yung vomiting, which is yung pagsusuka. Fever o yung lagnat. Nausea, yung mga pagkahilo natin. So, abdominal cramps, yun yung sumasakit yung tiyan. At yung jaundice. Yung jaundice naman is yung may kita natin na para tayong may hepatitis, no? Yung naninilaw yung balat natin, pati na rin yung mata. 4 types of pathogens. Unang-una is yung bacteria. Bacteria are living single-celled organisms. They may be carried by a variety of means: food, water, soil, humans, or insects. Under favorable conditions, they can reproduce very rapidly. So, yung bacteria naman is pwedeng madala hindi lang ng tao, pwede rin sa pagkain, sa tubig, o sa lupa. Pwede rin sa mga insekto. So, meron tayong mga favorable conditions na kung saan dun sila mas lalong nag-grow. Pero, mamaya na natin i-discuss yan. Some cause illness by reproducing toxins as they multiply, die, and break down. These toxins are not typically destroyed by cooking. So, sinasabi na, hindi lang dahil niluto natin yung pagkain, yung mga toxins na dala ng bacteria is nasisira agad. 4 phases of bacterial growth. Lag phase occurs immediately after inoculation. Cells do not grow, cells per volume do not increase. So sa lag phase, ito naman yung phase natin which is nangyayari if yung bacteria is na-transfer na from pwedeng food to food or human to food. So sinasabi na ito yung first step or first phase ng bacterial growth. So next naman is yung lag phase. During this phase, the microbe is growing at the maximum rate possible. So dito na sa lag phase nangyayari, yung bacteria na is nag-grow na siya rapidly, no? So nagmumultiply na rito yung bacteria. Next is yung stationary phase. Growth levels of cells per volume does not increase or decrease. So sa stationary phase, from the word itself, stationary, so wala na ditong pagbabago. Yung cell volume hindi na siya nag-i-increase at hindi na siya nagdi-decrease. Next and yung last is yung death phase. Death rate exceeds growth rate. Cells per volume decreases due to very low concentration of nutrients and very high concentration of waste products. So, yung last natin na phase is yung death phase. Dito na nalalagpasan na ng bacteria yung growth rate nila at nagde-decline na sila at namamatay. So may dalawa daw reason kung bakit nagdi-decrease yung volume ng cell. Unang-una yung so dahil unang-una na dyan is yung pag dumami yung volume ng bacteria, yung nutrients na matatagpuan dun sa isang certain lugar na pinagkaanuhan nila is bumababa na. So hindi na kulang na yung nutrients na nakukuha nila, kaya sila nagde-decline. Next naman is yung very high concentrations of waste products. No, dahil yung bacteria nga is nagpo-produce na ng dumadami na sila, marami na rin yung waste products na napoproduce nila. What bacteria need to grow? So mayroon tayong tinatawag na phatom, which is yung 6 na nakaka-apekto sa growth ng isang bacteria. Unang-una na dyan is yung food. Ang bacteria nag-grow, lalo na kung mostly sa mga food natin, dahil dun sila kumukuha ng nutrients at energy. Katulad lang din ng tao. Next naman is yung acidity. So pag mas mababa naman yung acidity level ng isang pagkain, dun sila lalong nag-grow. Lalo na yung mga pagkain katulad ng vegetables na mababa sa acid content. Next naman is yung time. So kung yung pagkain natin is napabayaan natin sa isang lugar kunyari sa kunyari napabayaan natin sa lamesa, as time passes by, kung lalo lang tumatagal, mas lalo lang din silang nag-grow. No? So temperature. So when it comes to temperature, meron tayong tinatawag na temperature danger zone. So yun yung 40 Fahrenheit to 140 degree Fahrenheit. So between those two temperature, dun sila mas lalong nag-grow, dun sila mas lalong nagbe-benefit. So sa temperature na yon, dun sila nagmo-multiply. So kaya mahalaga na i-store natin yung pagkain natin sa right temperature. Next is yung oxygen. Dahil nga yung bacteria is living organism pa rin naman. No, katulad naman ng lahat, kahit tayo namang tao, kailangan natin ng oxygen para mabuhay. So ganun din yung mga bacteria. Kailangan din nila ng oxygen para tumagal at mabuhay. Next naman is yung moisture. So sinasabi na pag the more yung moisture content ng isang pagkain, mas lalo lang sila dong nag-grow. Yun. So yun yung 6 na mga factors na naka-apekto sa growth ng isang bacteria. Major bacteria that cause foodborne illness. So unang-una na dyan is yung salmonella, o mas nakukuha natin sa mga hilaw na pagkain, Shigella spp, Enterohemorrhagic and Shiga toxin producing Escherichia. So next is yung viruses. So the word is from the Latin virus, referring to poison and other noxious substance. So pag sinabing virus, ito daw yung mga poison and other substances na pwede nating makuha sa pagkain. Virus can only multiply inside the living host. So unlike bacteria, ang bacteria nag-grow kahit sa anong lugar. Ang virus naman, on the other hand, can only multiply pag meron siyang host, o pwedeng host. Pag sinabing host, pwede yun yung tao or animal, basta living organism. So viruses do not multiply in foods. So yung virus mas nagpo-focus siya sa mga living organism, unlike sa bacteria kanina, nag-grow siya kahit sa surface. Yung virus naman sa pagkain hindi niya kaya mag-grow. Viruses are usually transferred from one food to another. So kung yung pagkain natin is meron ng mga viruses or meron mga living organism na nandun, yung dala ng living organism na viruses na yon is pwedeng mapasa from one food to another. So, basic characteristics of viruses. So, dito naman sa part na to, i-discuss to ng aking co-reporter, which is si Miss Jonaline Loverisa. So, thank you sa pakikinig sa aking part. Sana may natutunan kayo. Yun lang.
So, good day everyone. I am Jonalyn Nobrisa. I will be discussing the basic characteristic of viruses. So, next we have the location. So, the location, this is where viruses can carried by human being. Next, which is the source. So, um, source is the people who can get the virus like in food, water, or any contaminated surface. And also, it is often transmitted through airborne vomit particles. Next, we have the destruction, which is this is the quick removal and clean up of vomit is also important. So these viruses are not destroyed by normal cooking temperature. Then we have the prevention, so which is this is the most important way to prevent bacteria because um, by preventing we can avoid foodborne illness from the food. Next is the major viruses cause the foodborne illness. So we have the hepatitis A, so which is the source of hepatitis A is it is found in human intestinal and urinary tract, which is contaminated with water. And also, this virus is often transferred to food when it is infected, or the food handlers, such as the equipment with the fingers that have faces the um, making a or putting the objects. And it is linked by the raw or highly cooked oyster, like it harvested and polluted water. Then from the prevention measure, it can handle foods properly, cook at the recommended temperature. Next, we have the norovirus. So norovirus or Norwalk virus, it is the people easily who are infected can spread it directly. So it can contaminate the food or drinks like they prepare for their other people. So we can get it by um, with other people. And the symptoms of norovirus is the nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Next, we have the parasites. So parasites, it is a biological hazard and can enter a food system and can cause foodborne illness. So parasite, there are three characteristics like viruses. So we in parasites there are also three characteristics, and this is the location, which is the parasites. As we all know, parasites is require a host or need a host to live and produce. Then the sources, it is associated with the seafood, or which is we can get the parasite like the raw fish or meat. Then in prevention, next in prevention, also, like in the viruses, it is the most important and way to prevent the foodborne illness because by preparing also the food like fish that we will be served raw or undercooked has been correctly frozen by the manufacturer. So we need to correctly froze the meat so that we cannot get the parasites. Next, we have the major parasites that cause foodborne illness. So this is the major parasites that we can get by foodborne illness. So we have the anasacasis, which is anasacasis is a we can get it by the um, round. It is a nematodes or roundworms. Next, you have the major parasites that cause foodborne illness. So first is the anasacasis. So anasacasis it can food linked with the raw undercooked seafoods, bottom feeding fish, human are accidentally host upon eating fish are infested with parasites. So the symptoms of anasacasis is the vomiting, abdominal pain, coughing, and sharp pain. Next, we have the chlysoporiasis or chlysopora sciatenis. So, the symptoms is the infections that infect the small intestines, the watery diarrhea, lost appetite, the stomach cramps, vomiting like the anasacasis, and low-grade fever. So, the food linked with viruses is contaminated with butter, contaminated with fruits, or the vegetables. Next, we have the Gargiasis. So the symptoms of this is diarrhea, stomach pain, or stomach cramps, then nausea. Um, it can get by the undercooked pork. Next, we have the trichinosis. So the symptoms of trichinosis is the like nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, muscle stiffness, then death. And it can get by the undercooked pork and sausages, and ground meats are contaminated through meat grinders. Next, we have the fungi or fungi. So, fungi is yeast or molds and mushroom. So we can get it by the um, mushrooms or the other food that can contaminate. So there are two classification of fungi. We have the first is the molds. So molds is a it can get by spoiled foods causing that discoloration, unpleasant smell. So as you can see in the picture, so this is look like a mold. So if your food is look like this, so you don't have to eat this because you can get or you can um you got sick and make like foodborne illness. Next, it can produce toxins in our body, or some of which relate to cancer, cause allergies like aflatoxin, can cause liver disease. So molds can be used by to make cheese such as brie, camembert, gorgonzola, or blue cheese. So in other country, the molds are, but not like totally like this because like as I watch in while in scrolling in TikTok, so I saw a video like there are molds in cheese. So but it is normal. So there are some molds that you can eat, but there are some molds that are eatable or eaten. Next we have the yeast. So yeast is like a mold. So it can cause by food spoilage. So evidence of bubbles and alcoholic smell or taste are the sign of where foods are the presence of yeast. So if your food have this kind of characteristic like bubbles and alcoholic smell, so disregard that foods because they are evidence or they are yeast. Next we have the biological toxins. So the biological toxins are the foodborne illness caused by pathogens or biological contamination like the viruses, bacteria. So those are the biological toxins. So this is the naturally occurring chemicals into foods. So um those chemicals it can cause the foodborne illness or can cause disease. Like first is the ciguatoxins. So ciguatoxins are the poisonous organic compounds which are some corallid species are eaten by a larger carnivores. So those species or these species are eaten by human can cause death. So we should avoid the eating the that sign up ciguatoxins because we can it can cause death or it is very poisonous. Next we have the toxin. So the toxin, so it is a foodborne toxin which is most often associated with the mackerel or tuna. So um, we should avoid eating some mackerel or tuna if it is a um, evidence that have a toxin. Then we have these shellfish toxins. So the shellfish toxin is a we can get in the mussels, clams, oysters, and scallops, and it accumulate the toxins produced by microscopic algae. So there are so many toxins that in our food, so we have to be careful by eating. So we can avoid or prevent by getting a disease or foodborne illness. Next, we have the mycotoxins, which is produced by organisms of like fungi kingdom, commonly known as molds. So this is where in molds belong in mycotoxins. Next, we have the porocomarins. So the porococomarins is a toxin that can cause the stomach ache and may also cause a painful skin reaction. So it can get by the fruits. So human can suffer skin irritation when it come into contact with like the celery plants, grapefruit, or the oil of lime peels. Next we have the amygdalin. So amygdalin is in where it pounds of the pits of fruits in row like nuts. So it is found in swallowing or clover or sorghum. It can swallow only by few seed may can cause food illness. So once we swallow one or seeds, we can get amygdalin toxins. Next we have the goitrogens. So goitrogens, it is produced by the vegetables. So some of are vegetarian. So we have to be careful by eating also the vegetable because we can get the goitrogens. It can found in broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, radish, soy product, and spinach, and also it can result goiter. So by eating like those or by contaminated um, vegetable, we can get the goitrogen that can cause also the goiter. Next, we have the ephemerum. So as we know, it is the kamote or the roots. So it is the toxin found in sweet potatoes, yun, potatoes. So we can found it in potatoes. So food when eaten by human can cause illness and can be fatal. So it is very also dangerous because when you get that, it can cause also death. Next, we have the glycoalkaloids. So the glycoalkaloids it can get by the like kamote, which is also in potatoes. So it can so human and consumption can result to abdominal pain, hallucination, occasionally to death. So it can cause also death. So next we have the lectins, which is are found in beans like kidney, lima, or peas. So raw kidney beans usually are toxic. So but some of us like here in our place, so some of the beans we eat it because we can get food by the seeds. So do not cook beans at low temperature. So, but first we have to soak beans for at least 5 hours before we eat it. Then we have the cocoa beer tacins, which is it can get by the um, squash. So, it is commonly found in pumpkins or gourds. If eaten by humans, it can cause vomiting, stomach cramps, and diarrhea and collapse. So, it is dangerous din pala when we eat the um, pumpkin or gourds. Next we have the next we have the cyanogenic glycosides. So which is we can get in the kamoting kahoy, as you all know that it can get by kamoting kahoy. So it is naturally occurring toxins that in like cassava or bamboo shoots. It can lead an hydrogen cyanide. So the cyanide is one of the most potent or rapidly acting poison known. So it is very poisonous. So we have to prevent in um, eating those foods because we can get born illness and can cause death also. And last, we have the responding to a foodborne illness outbreak. So first, we have gather information. So of course, we have to gather information if we know that in your community or in your place there are a foodborne illness outbreak. So we have to contact that person and ask them some information or questions how their foodborne illness start or what is the symptoms and when is the first they become sick. Then next is we have to notify the authorities. So if we know that there are foodborne illness outbreaks, so we have to contact our local government or authority, so that we can prevent or avoid also to big or large foodborne illness outbreak. Next, we have to segregate the products. So, if you suspected the product is make a foodborne illness to the community, we have to aside the product, then include a label to do not use or to this not regard. So we can prevent the big foodborne outbreak. Next, we have to documentation or documenting information. So as we all know, we have to log information which was the suspect for the foodborne illness outbreak. So this might include a product description, production date, and also from the lot number. So this is the sell by date and it can be or it should be recorded. Then we have the identifying the self. So in identifying the self is or the stop. So we have to check our we have to check the list of our handlers or food handlers. So who is the schedule for that day? Who is scheduled for that day also? So that we can not get a contamination. So these staff members may be subject to an interview also and sampling by investigation and can be also interviewed immediately by management by their health status. So of course for us to avoid a big or large population of foodborne illness outbreak because it can also cause deaths by getting a foodborne illness in food. Next, we have the cooperating with authorities. So, once we gathered information, notify the authorities or document and identifying the staff, we have to cooperate with the authorities. So, we can provide appropriate documentation. We can use to provide the temperature logs of our staff, the HACCP documents, and the staff files. Next, the reviewing procedure. So, before we before we put before we handle the food, we have to review the product also. So, if it is damaged or have a evidence of contamination, so we have to review all the procedures so that we can avoid the contamination or foodborne illness. So, I think that's all for today discussion. So thank you for listening. I hope you get more information in this video. So thank you.